Thank you. Not quite, almost. I grew up in Southern California, so I'm a diehard drag guy anyway. So. 7 o'clock. Okay, you ready, Paul? Yeah? Okay, call the meeting to order. It is 7 o'clock, and this is the Genoa Township Board of Zoning Appeals, and the date is September 28th, 2021. We are meeting at the Genoa Township Hall, which is at 5111 South Old 3C Highway in Westerville, 43082. We have one case on the agenda tonight. It is a continuation of BZA case 2021-10. Brian Hess, who is requesting an area variance, and this is his second meeting. And I will call the roll at this time. Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Ms. Yu?
Here.
Mr. Boone?
Here.
Mr. Hanson?
Here.
Ms. Driscoll is here but will not be participating in this, thank you, in this hearing. She will be participating later on other issues. So I want to let everyone know that as the adopted policy of the Board of Zoning Appeals, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentation. The audience will then be granted an opportunity to comment, followed by questions from the board. This policy was adopted by the Board of Zoning Appeals to provide for the orderly discussion of business scheduled for consideration. The chairperson may limit repetitive debate. The first item on the agenda is review and approval of the meeting minutes from August 24th, 2021. I'll give you a moment to look that over, and then I will entertain a motion to approve. Okay.
Move to approve as presented.
So moved. Second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Yu. Any revisions, discussion, anything? All in favor of approval of the minutes from August 24th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Boone abstains, and the motion is carried. Okay, this is a continuation of a hearing first opened on August 24th, 2021. During the August 24th meeting, we had a 4-person board present to hear testimony on the subject application. To ensure a full and consistent 5-person board for the remainder of said hearing, regular member Dave Boone, who is also the vice chairman of the board, who was not present on August 24th, will sit for the remainder of the hearing and vote on this application. For clarification, alternate member Paul Hanson, who sat as a voting member in place of regular member Dorothy Driscoll, due to her absence on August 24th, will continue to sit as a voting member for this application in place of Ms. Driscoll. Mr. Boone, for the record, have you reviewed a recording of the August 24th meeting and familiarized yourself with all materials and testimony to date regarding this application?
Mr. Chair, I did review all the documentation, the paper copies, and the recording that was posted online.
Yes, perfect, thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing at, that's not right, 7:04 p.m. And I will read the legal notice into the record and request that anyone wishing to speak either for or against the application, please sign in and please stand to be sworn in. So all those, I assume that you will be representing the applicant. So if you would stand and be sworn in, any of the people, any of the spectators in the back? No? Okey doke. You, yes, Mr. Hess, you might as well, you never know. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Be seated, and I'll read the application into the record. Brian K. Hess requesting approval of a variance to allow an addition to encroach into the required 25-foot side yard setback on lot 1174 of the Purdy Industrial Park, 6269 Frost Road, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, currently zoned light industrial, which is LI, and this is BZA case 2021-10, and continued from August 24th, 2021. We've received the following exhibits, which were noted in last month's minutes, which are A through F. And we also have, A through G now, because we do have email pictures from Mr. Fravel, is that correct?
Fravel.
Close enough.
Makes all worse.
Yeah, there you go. And I did see those online, and I appreciate the time and the effort that you took to provide those, both of you. So we have exhibits A through G now entered into evidence, and we will start with Susan Dorch on behalf of the township.
Thanks, Mark. So we updated the staff memo. There's not a whole lot of changes to it. In the history section, we just noted that we did receive on September the 26th, we did receive an email from Mr. Fravel. Okay.
We're going to be doing that all night.
And his email stated that the variance request is for reduction to the side yard setback from the required 25 feet to 11 feet. And that's clarification, additional information from what was in the original application. And he also gave a site plan which showed that the addition proposed would be a 25 by 70 foot addition. And again, it would be 12 feet from the property line. We did post another notification sign at the front of the building to indicate the new hearing time. And then just if the board would note that that the applicant has verbally indicated that they would abandon their previous granted variance, BZA 1807, if this one was approved. That's all.
Okay. I had a question, but old age has taken over. It escapes me at this point. Is this the same as is this the same request as, we had 3 potential alterations of the building. Is this the same as one of those, or is this different? Okay. Yeah, we'll get to that.
That's a question for the applicant.
I guess we'll get to that. So, Mr. Fravel, you're up.
Yes, thank you. So I'll answer your question first.
Great.
Then we'll go through. So last time
Perfect.
Mr. Hess was here, he had a 1, 2, 3.
Correct.
This isn't the same as any of those 3. It's the closest to C, which is the one that the fire marshal had indicated that he preferred.
Okay.
When you looked at C last time, it was for a 26-foot out rather, and we're asking for 25 today. So it's a 1 foot difference.
Oh, it was. Okay.
So it's
Why did I think it was 11?
Maybe. Well, it's 11 on my drawing that you guys have.
Okay.
There'd be the variance, and I'm going to apologize. This was me in paint with a site map. If you look at the picture that is up there. So what we're asking for is to put an addition onto the main structure. It's going to come out 25 feet from the side of the building, and then it's going to go back 70 feet Susan in my email with,
Is that where the
pictures.
little red box is
Yeah,
with
so the
the,
red box is where the building would go.
so it goes back essentially to those little, I guess those are little mulch retention pits
Yeah,
or whatever?
so I've got some pictures to
Uh-huh.
kind of show where it's going to be.
So so it extends back farther than the original
Than that
concept?
original one.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
And there's a reason, if you look, so this is a picture of where it would extend back to.
Mm-hmm,
And it's basically gonna go all the way back to where the pavement ends there. And what that's
Okay.
going to allow is 2 points of access and entry into it. So a car could essentially swing around the back of the building on that paved surface
okay,
and enter the structure there.
gotcha.
It could also come around the front of the building, which there's a picture kind of coming down that lane. And you're gonna have 2 ways to access into this accessory.
Now, what's the little green line I'm looking
So
at
the
here?
green line is the area of the variance, that's the 11 feet.
Oh,
That was
'cause-
just my way of trying to depict what we're asking for. So
oh, I see what you say, 36 to proposed line, I got you, then 25, okay, thank you, I got it.
So what the standard says is that if it's not attached to the building, and Susan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think I have this right. If it's not attached, it could be within 10 feet of the property line.
Mm-hmm,
But because we're asking for it to be attached to the main structure, it has to be 25 feet from the property line.
I see,
So we're really only asking for, we wouldn't need a variance if we moved it a foot off of the property, or off the main building, because it would be an accessory structure.
oh, I
We
see,
would have the 10
as opposed
feet.
to attaching.
Yes, the fire marshal, in his view, would rather it be attached and be running off all the same services, the same electric, the same everything. So if they have to go in for something, they're only having to access one building, not 2 separate buildings. And then you don't have a foot gap in between the 2 buildings. It's really a dead space on the property.
Mm-hmm,
I did, so I drew this. I know it's not site plan as we would normally see. I contacted somebody about getting a
It's-
site plan done, and I couldn't get an official one.
it's understandable, and that was one of the things that I personally was having difficulty with. I can look at this now and say, oh, okay, this is what they want to do, which is really what I was looking for.
And I understand that. I sit on the Westerville BZA. I've had to evaluate these before.
I won't hold that against you.
Some other things that were brought up, I listened to the recording of the last hearing.
Sure.
You asked the applicant to address items C, D, and E in the staff report. And I just wanted to touch on those quickly. Regarding C, it says no building or accessory structure shall be located closer than 100 feet from a residential plan district.
Okay,
I provided another picture, I don't know if it's on there, but I measured from that back property line to the edge of the building. It's 200 feet.
okay,
We're not gonna be anywhere close to that 100 foot, just to. I don't, go to the Google map one, please, the PDF. And if you zoom in up at the top,
Yeah.
zoom in right on there, you can see where I just drew the measure tool.
oh, I see,
And it
okay,
was like 190 feet from there, so we're nowhere close to that 100 foot, issue that was raised in C.
okay, good,
In letter D, it was the lot coverage and no more than 35% of the area.
right,
Just off my measurements, the lot is approximately 400 by 150 feet, which gave me 60,000 square feet. The building is right around 11,000 square feet,
as it is,
as it is
Currently.
currently, which gave us 18 to 19% lot coverage.
okay,
The new addition is 1,700 square feet, so it's really only a few percentage more. We'd probably still be right around 20% lot coverage with the new addition.
Okay.
Just to address that, the last one there on E, for section 19 of the Genoa Township parking standards, we know if this is granted, he's going to have to go get a zoning certificate of compliance with this as well. For all street loading areas, it requires minimum dimensions of 12 by 50, which our 25 by 70 would clearly comply with.
okay.
It is part of a side yard, but it's not going to project into the front yard. We're actually starting it, could you go to the picture with the 2 windows? So we're going to
Right
that
up to
are-
to the air conditioner, basically.
Yep, so
Yep.
we're gonna come right up from in between those two windows and go
Uh-huh.
back from there. That's about 3/4 the way back of that building. We're not gonna be in the front yard at all.
Okay,
There's plenty of room to maneuver in this size building for these parking spaces. And the other, one of the
well, I think
other,
isn't the parking all in the front anyway, aside from what's in the back?
there's parking all in the front. One of the concerns I think that was raised with this is they're gonna be storing vehicles in here.
Uh-huh,
So that's why this standard, I believe, was brought up by Susan, but when you look at how far back this lane is, there's plenty of room to come out and come out straight onto the lane, which is one of
what,
the standards.
how far does it
It's not-
extend?
Excuse me. It wasn't in parking inside the building. It's, like Mark said, out front, so.
Yeah, so there's plenty of,
How far does it extend past the back of the existing building? I'm assuming you're gonna put a two-car garage door or something in there?
yeah, it's only gonna extend to where that pavement goes. I didn't take the tape measure out and measure
Okay.
that,
All right,
that part, but we're just going into the paved area.
okay,
And there's currently a fence that's right there right now, and that fence will be removed, and we would just go to that point.
sure.
Let's see, so, yeah, it's gonna come back all the way back, so kind of where that picture cuts off is where it would stop, on the right-hand side of that picture.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't
Oh,
think,
right, okay.
I don't think we're gonna have any issues with meeting these parking standards with the size of the building and the layout
Sure.
of what we have planned.
Well, and I think a lot of these issues were in deference to staff, as I think staff raised the issues because we didn't have answers, and we're not good at guessing.
I understand, so I was just trying to address
Sure.
some of the things that you had raised last time.
That's absolutely excellent, thank you.
We have spoken to the neighbor that is to the left, as you look at this map,
Mhm.
Marco Awards. He sent a letter, which I have a copy of, he just gave it to me today, or to my client today.
Okay,
He said there's no problem with adding onto the building as long as it doesn't encroach onto his property. He's still gonna have 11 feet between the building and his property line.
did you want to enter that into,
I can.
Evidence. We can
I
take
just have
that.
one copy of it, because I just literally got it a minute ago.
no, that's fine. But we can get a copy of that and enter that into evidence, that's fine.
Yeah, so I think.
Because I think that's important, because, go ahead, I'm not gonna stop you,
No,
because
no, you're fine.
we're gonna be
I know
heading
last
out
time
that
was
way in a minute.
confusing With 3 different options, so the goal of this was to clarify, this is what we're asking for.
I
believe the
appreciate
only
that.
variance would be the 11-foot, rather than a 25-foot side yard setback.
Okay, gotcha.
And yes, I would like to enter this into evidence. if we
Okay.
can.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get you a copy and get it back to you. Okay, I have a question for Susan. Given this, I'm a little concerned about the proximity of the proposed building to the building next door. Have we had a statement from the fire department regarding this new plan?
They didn't review this new plan, but they have looked at it and they did not have an issue prior to an addition being on that side of the building,
This
as long
size-
as they can get around the other side of the building.
This size and, well, my concern is the proximity, I understand that what the 11 feet, and this other building looks like it's actually maybe built into the easement. My concern is
Yeah, it's
the
a
distance
little
between the two
deceptive from the
structures.
picture. I
Uh-huh.
don't think the building next door, it's not as close to the property line as it looks like it
Objects
is
are
on the
not
picture.
as close as they appear.
Right.
Do we
But I
have any
do-
feel for what that number is?
From, I can say that this plan as it's presented is actually a foot less, a foot further away from the other building, as the plan that the fire marshal said that he was comfortable with last time.
Okay,
That was presented to you as Exhibit C. I know I can drive my truck in between the building to the left and the one on the right, and there's much more room. There's actually a lane that goes all the way back there. The way this picture is taken, the
Oh.
shadow of that building on the left, the top of the building is covering that drive that goes all the way back and around.
oh, yeah, I see it now, yeah,
It might be a little bit of my green marking in there too.
okay.
But there is plenty of room in between. There's actually a fence that goes along that line right now.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's in the pictures that I have.
I don't remember seeing it.
If you show the picture, it would be the back of the lot picture. You can see there the lane that goes all the way down.
Oh, okay, yeah, I
See
did
that
see
fence
it.
that's right there?
Yep, okay, you can, actually, that's probably the other one, if you go back, Paul. Yeah, that one, you can see there is a little driveway on the right-hand side, or on the left there.
Yeah, and we're not going any further over than that fence already.
And the
That's
fence
existing.
is essentially, you're gonna go basically to the green, to the grass area. You're gonna build out to the grass.
Yeah, Paul, can you pull up the one with the tape measure that's going out?
Or not as far as the
Not
grass.
as far
I
as the
remember,
grass.
okay, I remember that now. Yeah, you're a couple feet off the grass now. I can't remember though.
Yeah, so this is
Okay.
where the tape measure was.
Okay.
It's basically to the narrowest part of that drive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even gonna go up that far, you
Okay.
know, it's gonna be further back.
Okay.
But yeah, the point is, we're not gonna touch the grass at all, we're trying to stay in the paved area.
Okay. Now, at the last meeting, and this is gonna be the last, pretty much the last comment that I have. At the last meeting, Mr. Hess agreed to abandon the request from 2018, and I assume that's still on the table?
Yes,
Is that
it's still on
correct?
the table, you know, we would agree, you know, if we get this variance, we can abandon the other variance, as a condition of this variance.
Okay, all right. I think that's all I have. Anybody? You guys are remarkably quiet. Okay. Thank you, by the way. Yeah, you're a good artist and not a bad presenter. Okay, then, unless you guys have any questions for staff or the applicant, I guess we can move into discussion. And if we
Public
have, go ahead.
comment? No
Oh,
public
sure.
comment?
I'm sorry?
Public comment?
Oh, public comment. Okay. Anyone from the public, none of you were sworn in, but anyone from the public wish to make a comment on the application? I will swear you in. I will need your name and address, and then I will swear you in.
Kathy Hagley.
Oh, is it on or? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Hagley, 6286 Mount Royal Avenue.
I assume you live in the condos.
I live in the condos, and
Do you
I'm,
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm the president of the condo association.
Oh, okay.
So you got the big person coming tonight.
Nice, okay.
No, we have been, Tattletale has been great to us.
Uh-huh.
As, you know, we have a fence between us.
Sure.
But they have always been very generous and always concerned about how the residents.
I recall when we had the application in 2018, there was some discussion, but for the most part, you didn't oppose that.
No, we did not.
This is, to me, from where I sit, from what I can see, much less intrusive than the original.
That's
plan.
correct. And
Okay.
when we all got the letters, you know, a lot of the residents was like, oh, no, you know, we were comfortable with what he was doing before.
Sure.
And then we got the letter, and then I started looking, and then I went over to Tattletale, and I says, oh, this isn't even going to affect us at all, really, because it's a long ways from our fence line.
This one, you mean?
Yeah, what
Yeah.
he's, yeah. Before, it was pretty close to our
I was
fence
gonna say,
line.
you would have had a little
and-
rooftop probably view from
Right,
some of the
and,
back
but he had
units.
said that he would do landscaping and everything
Right.
to, you know, which we were happy with that. But this, we are fine with it.
Did
We,
he end up doing landscaping back there anyway?
no,
No. Okay.
no, he
I
did
couldn't-
not.
When I drove by, and it's been a little while, I
Yeah.
couldn't tell.
No,
if there
I
was or
mean, it
not.
wasn't really necessary,
Okay.
you know, but, I mean, if he wants to put trees back there, that'd be fine.
You wouldn't
But
stop him?
we wouldn't stop him, no. But no, all the residents, you know, I'm here. I have another board member here, Kathy, and another resident.
Kathy?
Another Kathy,
I was
right.
in a club one year, everybody was named Mike.
And they actually live right behind where it is.
Okay.
I'm in the first building, they're in the second building.
Okay.
So that's right behind them.
Okay.
And so they would be more affected by it. But, you know, noise, nothing. And, you know, Tattletale's always been very good to us. and very concerned
Okay.
about our condo
So
association.
you're not concerned about the hours of operation or anything?
No,
Everything is- okay,
absolutely not.
Okay.
We've never had a problem with that,
okay.
okay?
Well, thank you for your comments. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. Any of you, the other two ladies? No, you're good? All right. Okey doke, thank you for reminding me. You know, I only get to do this once a month. Okay. So, now I think we're at the discussion findings of fact. So, if you guys want to go through, someone wants to go through the, essentially what it is the Duncan versus Middlefield criteria and see how this relates.
Okay,
Not everybody at once.
I got, yeah, I got, whatever.
Pardon? Teresa?
Ready?
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
go, you're up.
The board reviewed section 307.06 of the zoning resolution reflecting Duncan versus Middlefield as it pertains to the area variance requested from section 1507.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution to allow for a principal building to encroach into the 25-foot side yard setback in a light industrial zoning district as follows. The property in question would yield a reasonable return, and there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance. Agree with that?
I do.
Okay. Yes. And again, because it's an addition, it's anything else.
Well, the building's in operation
It's-
now.
right.
They're
Right.
using it and
The-
they're
the-
getting.
the- In its
reasonable
current
return on
form,
it
the
as it
building,
is.
right, in its current form, the building is usable.
Yes,
It
it
has
is.
Yes.
utility. Now, does it have the same utility as adding on 1,700 feet? No, but it still has some utility.
But there's been some discussion that it's gonna be basically for the storage of cars. I know we had a little different discussion the last time, that there was a possibility that maybe manufacturing or some
Right.
production.
See,
But for the most part, it's
And-
intended to put those cars in.
and we're in discussion anyway, so I'm not, yeah, I would assume a growing business would eventually use that for manufacturing. The fact that he's going to use it, you know, initially, perhaps for vehicle storage, I'm not, one or the other doesn't, I'm not really impacted by either one.
Yeah, to me, I don't care why
Right.
it's needed, really. I mean, if they
Um,
want to share that, that's fine. It's-
Sure, and it may be part storage, part manufacturing, who knows?
It could sit
Once
empty
he
for 3
builds it,
years. and, you
Quite
know.
frankly, we're not the use police.
Right.
You know, once he builds it, he does with it what he does. Whether it be storage, whether it be manufacturing, whether it be whatever, offices, whatever. So I think with that in mind, I'm not, while the property lends itself to some utility now, this will increase the utility for whatever, you know, use he really designates. So
Well, yeah, I mean, nothing in the presentation said, you know, if I don't build this, I can't run my business and have to
Right.
shut down, so.
right, absolutely. No, you're correct.
Okay, the variance is substantial,
What percent is that?
56%.
Is it? Okay.
Yep.
I know you're the math major, so I had to ask.
Very excited. I looked to make sure it hadn't already been done before I did it. 'Cause,
Oh, had it? Okay.
yeah. The essential character,
What is it?
so it's 44, okay. So, well, no, because you're decreasing it by 14 feet. And so 14 out of over 25 is 56. That's how I calculated it.
I agree with that. It's a 14-foot encroachment.
Okay, yeah. Mic drop. No.
All right.
All right. The essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, and the adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. We have that based on the email from the neighbor to the west and the condos to the south. North.
Yeah, and I want to pile on a little
Yep.
bit on that. We have a statement from the immediate, you know, owner to the west that says that he's in favor of it. He doesn't want to see him not do it. obviously the condos, they're really not impacted at all. Actually, I think we might be helping them from the standpoint that we replace this for what we approved in 2018, from the standpoint of the condos. And I think that as far as the character of the neighborhood, it's light industrial. His building is one of the better looking buildings in that little street. And which I appreciate as a resident and a taxpayer. But I don't think that this is, I think the only thing it will do is maybe improve the overall appeal of the neighborhood.
I mean, it is getting closer to the property line than.
It is.
Than anything else, but it's set pretty far back from the front of the building. Anything else on that one? Moving on? Okay.
I'm
The
done.
variance would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services, and we had that
Yeah,
before.
I think we decided that, I think we had some pretty good testimony on that. I was a little concerned about the proximity, based on what the fire department, based on, I'm always concerned when there's a couple of buildings that are close together, because we have had requests in the past where the fire department, literally, I remember and it was quite a few years ago, the fire department came in and said, if something happens here, we can't get between these buildings with our equipment on. And that's always the concern. Can they get in to the one on the west or the one or this property? As long as I haven't heard any testimony to tell me that there would be an issue with that.
No, and I
think we're good.
reread what they had sent from at the
Right.
last hearing.
Yeah,
I said,
think
hey, as long
there's
as we can
like
get in on that.
3 or 4 emails, and
Yep.
they're fine going in on
Yep.
the east side of the building, and as long as they're fine, then I have to assume, I have to make the leap that it doesn't affect governmental services.
The property owner did purchase the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction because it existed at the time of purchase.
And he's been here before.
Yeah. Oh, that's true, yeah. The property owner's predicament, I'm gonna go with cannot be feasibly obviated through a method other than the variance. But, I mean, I guess
Well-
if we wanted to argue that they put it on the back of the building, they've got more than enough room to get.
I mean, there's a
Additional
couple of
100 points.
options, none of them good. Option A
Mhm.
is store or manufacture off-site at an alternate site. B, build the building that we approved in 2018, or approve this variance for this. And I for one, think that this is a better option than what we approved in 2018.
Mhm.
That's just one guy's opinion and on one vote, but that's what I think. I think we've got a solid, concise plan that we understand, we can see it, what it's gonna do, and I think it makes sense. And I think it makes more sense than what we approved in 2018. So-
And the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance. Really, for all the
Well, I think it
discussion
would.
above, yeah.
I really do. After looking at this, revisiting this today, the materials today, and looking at what was given to us in addition to that, because I think really the only hesitancy on my part last month was that we really didn't have a precise plan. It was this one, or this one, and I'm not in the position to pick one, and nobody else is. And if we're in a position where we have to pick one, a lot of times the one we pick is none of the above. And I think that you especially, Mr., I'm going to mispronounce it. Fable. Thank you. Have done an excellent job presenting the application on behalf of the applicant. And I think that you presented it in a manner that was clear, concise, understandable, so that we can make an informed and hopefully a good decision. So, and I appreciate that. I appreciate when people come It's like law school. I was there for about 20 minutes and washed out, but I appreciate when people come to class prepared. So I never did. It was a real drag trying to book brief during lectures. But nevertheless, okay, so does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. And I think we're at exhibits A through
H.
H, yes.
Yeah.
Here, did you want to make the
Yeah. Ready?
motion?
Okay,
Motion?
Yep.
Okay,
Move to wait, no, that's the continuance one, sorry.
page 4.
The second one.
Page 4.
One page right, there we go. There it is, okay, approval one. I move to incorporate exhibits A through H, as well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence and to approve the requested variance from section 1507.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution for BZA 2021-10, application received July 30th, 2021, to allow for a principal building to encroach 14 feet into a 25-foot left side setback on property known as Lot 1174 in Purdy Industrial Park, 6269 Frost Road, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, zoned light industrial.
Can I stop you 1 second?
Yes.
Can we put west side instead of left side? Because is it my left or your left?
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's
Is
say
that okay?
west side. Is that acceptable, staff? Sure. I think it clarifies it because,
Okay, so 14 feet into a 25-foot west side setback on the property. Okay? This motion is based on the following findings of fact pursuant to section 307.04 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. Let's see, that such variance or modification will not be contrary to the public interest because, I could use help
I think
on
we
these.
discussed that.
Per the
because
discussion, okay.
I think it makes more sense than what we've already approved, A. B, I don't think he's asking for anything that's, out of the ordinary for that area. I think it gives him additional utility so he can expand his business, store his cars, do whatever. And ultimately, it improves value.
Doesn't encroach on the neighbor.
It does not encroach on the neighbor. And, yeah,
Okay. That owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the zoning resolution will result in an unnecessary hardship because,
fill that blank in.
yeah,
Because.
there are not a lot of places to put it that
Right.
either make sense, that make it functional, and that citing it
Because
like
he
an
either
accessory
has to
building with a
build here
1-foot gap,
Or build behind.
Yeah.
Can't go in front.
or have
can't
that
go on
weird
the east
gap
side.
between
Right.
a building.
The accessory building, to me, makes 0 sense. Even though it's a legal conforming improvement for that property, that makes 0 sense to me. Just from a common sense standpoint, I know what the code says.
And for utility use.
Right, and
Mm-hmm.
for the purposes of utility, why would you build a 1,700 square foot structure that's not attached to your existing business? That doesn't, to me, I wouldn't do it, but that's why I don't have a business.
That the approval of such variance or modification thereof is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution, and substantial justice shall be done thereby, because it.
Well, I think justice is done, even
Yeah.
though we aren't conforming to the zoning resolution. I think justice is done because we're doing something that makes sense. I think if you look at it and you look at the plan, I think it makes sense.
Okay.
I wish we'd have had this in 2018.
Approval of the subject variance is subject to the owner's agreement to the following conditions. The standard ones are all required permits, zoning, or otherwise be obtained pursuant to section 307.11 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. The approved variance shall lapse, expire, and be null and void ab initio if required zoning permits are not obtained within 1 year of this motion of approval. Extensions to this variance may be requested pursuant to sections 307.11.a and b of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as may be amended. The Board of Zoning Appeals does grant the Genoa Township zoning inspector authority to extend this variance at their discretion, subject to the deadlines established within section 307.11.a of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as may be amended, and then the condition regarding abandoning
Right.
the previous variance. And
Okay.
that,
BZA 2018-07.
thank you. BZA 2018-07?
Yes.
07 be abandoned.
Got it?
Is that enough for that condition?
I'll
Okay.
entertain a second.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Okay, discussion? You guys are quiet tonight. Okay, then if there's no other questions.
No, I do
Oh,
want
go,
to discuss
please.
something. I guess my struggle is,
Okay.
Tattletale's an excellent company.
Mhm.
It's great for the community. It has a great product. It's probably regional, if not national, I would guess. So I think it has a lot to offer this community. But my concern with this particular variance is, I don't believe that it follows the spirit and intent of the zoning requirement.
Okay.
And my reason is, it's a 56% encroachment. And to me, it's gonna look like row houses, if you will. I don't think that's the intent. I think the spirit and intent of the zoning requirement is that there's some type of open area, call it green space, or if it's paved or whatever, that there's space on each side of a house or a structure, so that they don't look like they're one structure after another after another. I do think that the community has a feeling about it of, we're not jamming things in up here, and I think that's what I'm struggling with. So
I
please
appreciate
respond.
that. My opinion is, and I'm only one vote, just like you. My opinion is that, first of all, you're in an industrial setting. It is not a residential setting. If we were in a residential setting, I would absolutely be on board with you. But because of the use and because of the uses around it, I'm not saying it's the Wild West and they should be able to do anything they want. That's why we have zoning. But I don't think this is unreasonable, because you're gonna have people that buy properties, they're gonna move into them, and I used to see it at the bank all the time, and they grow, and they don't think they're gonna be able to fill up this building, and then they need the additional space. Along with that, first of all, I think, again, my opinion, driving down Frost Road, I think there are a lot worse looking properties than Mr. Hess's. And I appreciate the fact it's painted, it's well maintained, his parking lot looks good. I think that he's taken the care and the consideration to the township to make the property look good. I think adding 25 feet on the side, to me, is a much better alternative than what we approved in 2018. In fact, I struggled with that so much more than I am with this. I think this makes so much more sense. I wish we'd have seen this in 2018, because I struggled with the little half-round hut that looked like what they used to build in World War II to store ammunition, because we had them all over in California when I was growing up. And I think it conforms visually, even though it encroaches. It still conforms visually. You drive by. I think his is one of the better looking, if not the best, building on Frost Road, because you've got industrial uses. On the other side of him is a auto impound, salvage, tow yard, whatever. I mean, you want to talk about visually unappealing, you go there. You know, you're going to get a fence and a little building and a bunch of tow trucks running in and out all day. And just one guy's opinion. You got the U-Haul and you've got the the self-storage down at the end of the cul-de-sac. And I really, for me, I think this, it will not devalue, it will not deter those other properties around it. I think it actually improves the overall visual effect appeal. So that's what I'm looking at. Anybody?
One question I had was, you get a different perspective when you listen to the recording and you're not sitting here
Oh, I'm sure.
on the last meeting. So when you're listening to the recording, I heard that you grew by leaps and bounds in the last 3 years. And like, if I'm correctly stating the numbers, you went from like $3 million business to a $6 million business right in a 3-year period of time. So with that growth, are you adding on and then moving out within a year after you put an expansion or something on a building? That's my only concern.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Or you're building onto a building and then moving,
Well, I think
which is anybody's choice.
See, here's the
of
thing
doing
though,
so.
I think, and I'm gonna speak for the applicant, I guess, but I think if my business was expanding that rapidly and I was inclined to move, I don't think I'd make a capital improvement here, I would just move. Rather than make a capital improvement of X, whatever that number is, 1,700 feet is probably gonna be somewhere around a couple $100,000 to add that on. To add that on and then move financially can be devastating to a
Can we ask that
business.
question?
We can add, sure, Mr. Hess.
I can tell you the plan is to stay. The plan is, I mean,
I don't think you'd be here if you.
I went to Tattletale with Mr. Hess to take all those pictures. And inside the actual building, the structure that's there now, it's full. Right, and some of that is business stuff, and some of that is personal stuff with Mr. Hess's. There's a drum set in there, there's stuff like that, so
Normal for it.
we're gonna move some of that into this accessory, or this addition, to be able to allow Tattletale to continue its expansion and fill this whole space. The plan is to stay here. Mr. Hess just bought a new house in Westerville, if you don't mind me disclosing.
Lakeside at the forest back in
It's
that
not
nice
saying I
old
want
community.
him to move tomorrow, I'm just saying,
No, the plan is to stay.
is there a plan to look for other space somewhere else, or
No,
just
listen, we're gonna go
emergency?
$12 million this year. I don't have any time for any of that.
Okay.
And I didn't build out back because I didn't think it really warranted. I'm with you. So it didn't happen. It didn't feel right. This feels right. And it'll look right. Or I won't do it. I'll make it small. I mean, you won't find me over there screwing stuff around, giving it a bad look. That's not my nature.
If that had been one of my concerns on the original variance application is that, I mean, he's doing great, but that building's gonna be there forever. And in even 20 years, it could change hands and then they'd be stuck with this building that could have something really miserable in it. And I think even if that does occur here, 20 years down the line, it's still pretty far away from the residential area. And you can just let the industrial owners fight it out if there's a problem.
Well, yeah,
with its use
for
down the
me,
line.
the industrial, that area that's zoned light industrial, it kind of is what it is. Because a lot of those businesses and structures have been there long enough that they're just kind of there.
Well, it's not easy to relocate if you
Oh,
need an
relocate a
industrial type building.
business?
Yeah, it's not easy to just
Well,
find
no,
something
what
else.
I'm
so.
saying is
not.
what
Right.
I'm stating is what I was hearing on the recording of the
Yeah.
massive growth.
Sure.
Yeah,
That
right,
I was
right.
concerned that, okay, how long is this massive growth gonna go before there's a potential to move someplace else?
It can always be a design center. It doesn't always
Yeah.
have to be manufacturing. I'm gonna keep that building here as Tattletale. That's what it is. Yes, I picked up.
Come to the.
Yeah, I don't know if he can hear him, but he's busy.
Cars and the guys are complaining about it. They're all cars we use for trade shows. I mean, these aren't me collecting cars to drive around in. These are really cars you guys would like to see. They're nice old cars. We take them to trade shows.
And to your point, Mark, if the aesthetics of the building are so nice, even if Mr. Hess was to move tomorrow,
Right. And
it's
that's
gonna be a
the
great,
thing.
it's
And
gonna be a
let's
great
face it,
location for somebody else.
If the day comes where he wants to.
Well,
move,
that day will come.
you know, and
Yeah,
maybe,
it's just-
he may outgrow the township. And I worked in an independent bank for 5 years, so I'm pretty familiar with your type of business. And what happens is, a lot of times, you'll get a customer that, or a business person that will outgrow where he is, his bank, his facility, whatever. But for him, if he's gonna move, he's gonna maximize whatever he gets for that. He's not gonna let the thing go in the tank and then move. He's gonna try and maximize it. You know, if he can get X today, he wants to get X plus tomorrow. He's not gonna, I mean, that to me just makes financial sense. I don't know. Like I said, I used to, in my background years ago, 30 years ago, I used to deal with sole entrepreneurs, and they're all a little bit different. And we had a couple in particular at the bank that were, they started out little and they got big really fast. And they outgrow you, and they outgrow the facility down the road. But that doesn't mean he wouldn't keep it or keep it maintained, you know, and I maybe I'm testifying for you, but
I like
keeping
the
it
place. I
maintained.
love the place. I don't
Yeah.
like things I don't love.
I know you've been around here for years. I mean, some of us have been on boards for years, and I know you've been here for years. And I think the township appreciates your participation, so.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. I love it here.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Are we ready to call a vote? All right. Mr. Boone,
Yes.
Mr. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. Hanson,
Yes.
Ms. Yu,
Yes.
chair votes yes. Motion carries. You're approved. Thank you. And the hearing is closed at 7:50, call it. I just have to go by the clock, I guess. Thank you, good luck to you.
Thank you.
I'm sure the building process will be more than challenging.
Don't call me for that.
Okay. All right, we have a couple little items that unfortunately for you, I decided we would put on the agenda, so.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Thank you for coming, I appreciate that. Okay, the first thing we need to do is go over the proposed, I think the first thing is rules of procedure, okay. The first thing on the rules of procedure is that the way this started is I realized that we review this every March. And the reason I asked to put this on the agenda tonight is because at the end of August, Joe Schaefer, as you may or may not know, attended a training seminar with the county. And he sent us all, I assume you all got it, the training packet that he received from them. And I was looking through that, and there were some items in there that they recommended, more about the procedure, the process, than the actual rules, that I thought we might want to revise our rules of procedure to conform to what they gave us. The other thing is that in the meantime, Joe and I were emailing a little bit back and forth. He mentioned that the zoning commission is in the process of revising their rules of procedure, because apparently they're a little older than ours. So my thought was, and Joe actually offered to revise ours, and so my thought is that, and this is why I'm bringing it, we don't have to do a bunch of work on this, because Joe offered to do the revision. My thought is that we should have certain sections, and there was in their revised rules of procedure, I think it was pages 11 through 14, there was a lot of items in there that we should incorporate into ours. And I was just gonna ask Joe to revise our rules of procedures based on what zoning is considering. Not what they approve necessarily, but what they're considering approving. And then we can look at it, dissect it. Some we may like, some we may not. We might like it all, we might hate it all. I don't know. But I think that we need to have the uniformity between the county and zoning commission and us. That's just, that's why I bring it up tonight. And if, I wanted to bring it to you guys from the standpoint, are you comfortable with that? Can we ask Joe to go ahead and do that? I mean, or staff to do it, I don't know, might be Susan, she might draw the unlucky straw, that short straw.
I think it's a great idea.
Pardon?
It's a great idea. It shows
Okay.
that our
Yeah.
rules aren't stagnant, we're not just.
Right, and you know, when we revised them in what, 18, they hadn't been revised in a long time, and I don't want us to do that anymore. I want us to make sure, and I think that was part of
I think that's one
the
thing we
process.
said when we did it.
Pardon?
That's one thing we said when we did them in
Right.
December 18th.
But on the other hand, though, I don't want to spend a bunch of our time doing it if we have staff that's already A, done it, and B, willing to do it for us.
And then is the zoning commission going to review theirs regularly? Should we?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if we should just get on
That's
their
probably all
schedule.
about them, so.
Yeah.
Well, if they haven't reviewed them for this long, I wouldn't say they're gonna review them regularly.
You know, it changes every year, you know, the members change every year, who knows? So if.
Do you have specifics, Mark, that you wanted Joe to look at, or
Um,
just specifically, you said procedures and
I
process?
do, and what I'll do is if it's okay with everybody, I'll send Joe an email tomorrow or the next day when I have some time. Because my problem is he sent me the revision of the zoning code, the rules for zoning. I couldn't print them out to save my life. I don't know why. I tried, my wife tried. We had a couple of the cats try.
I had the same problem. If you save it and download it to like a documents file,
Oh, really?
and then
Okay.
open that documents file.
Because there
and
were,
then
is that the
reprint it.
zoning rules of procedure, the proposed, or is that ours? Oh, because, oh, you did? Oh, yeah. This one, there were some things in specifically, you know, just little things. The commission reserves the right to utilize sign-in sheets for those attending, which I don't think we have in ours. Public meetings are considered to be limited forums, which I don't think we have in ours. You know, just items, like I said, nothing substantial, a lot of little things. And that's why and what I'll do is, I'll just ask him to revise based on these pages. And then we can bring them back and look at them. If we like them, great. If we don't like them, then we don't like them. You know,
Makes sense.
I mean, you guys good with that?
I'm good with that. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a great idea.
Okey dokey. The last thing on the agenda is the 22 schedule, hearing dates. And I think we are okay. I always am concerned around the holidays, making sure that we don't have hearings right around the holidays, because I know people travel, well, they used to. I don't know if they do anymore.
Might by then.
What's that?
We might be by then.
I hope so. So anyway, that's the proposed. I'm fine with it. We can do these as a consent item if you would like. Or if anybody has any revisions that they see.
I went through my calendar again today for
Got
next
it
year, and
already.
they're fine with me.
Okay.
I got another
So
copy.
do you want a motion to approve?
Okay, yeah,
believe
there you
it.
go. Thank you, Mark.
Move to approve the
Always organized.
tentative schedule for 2022 as presented
Okay,
for the December 14, 2021 meeting through the January 24, 2022.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dave. Okay. Then, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion's approved. Is there anything else that we need to talk about tonight? We will be here in October, or no?
We most likely will get another application. yes.
Okay. Okay.
She
And like
was
one or
going
more than
to, I'm only aware of one. She was She said she was gonna drop it off today, but she's got till Friday, so.
Okay, that's fine. At least it's not on my wife's birthday this year like it was last year. So, okay, then, hearing no other business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, somebody.
Make a motion, I make a motion. I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, anybody want to make a second, Dorothy? All right, all those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then we are adjourned.